Good morning, everybody. My name is Luca Galeasso. I'm part of the Clever Cluster staff. I'm also project manager. Sorry for we have just a short technical issue to solve. Okay, so good morning, everybody. I'm Luca Galeasso. I'm project manager of the Smart Energy project. And I welcome you to this first webinar of the Smart Energy project. We have 6 webinars dedicated to hydrogen technologies, and this will be the first one. We'll start today with this 6-pack series. Just a few technical information before starting. The session is recorded. If you want to make any question, you can use the function question and answer on the bottom of your screen. We will collect the questions and we will answer them after the end of the presentations, after the first half of the morning. And for those who have requested it, I remind also that all the participants that will follow all the 6 sessions will also receive at the end a certificate of attendance. Before presenting you how this webinar is organized, I simply briefly introduce the project and its main objectives. Smart Energy project is one of the 13 projects funded by the COSME program under the Cluster Excellence Initiative, which is managed by the European Agency for Small and Medium Enterprises. We have basically 3 main objectives. The first one is to support companies that have developed solutions in the energy sector, in the industrialization phase, and in accessing new markets. In particular, through the development of innovative services we are working on in the project between our 6 partners that I will list after. The second main objective is to encourage and promote the integration between energy technologies and digital technologies. We really think that this integration is a big opportunity and a big challenge also to accelerate energy transition of the European Union and open new markets for companies working in the energy sector. And finally, the third main objective is to promote the cluster exchange program. This is a tool that is available for the clusters in this kind of projects, whose aim is to organize visits. So organize exchanges between companies which are interested, coming from different countries and different clusters, to exchange, to meet, and to cooperate between them. We have on board on this project 6 different clusters. Clever Cluster is the coordinating cluster of the project, and we have other 5 clusters. 2 of them are from region Renault in France, the Tenerdis Energy Cluster, and Minalogic, which is our digital technology cluster. 2 other clusters from Belgium, TWIT Cluster and Flux 50. And 1 cluster from Hungary, which is Arkenet cluster, particularly focused on the smart building sector. I really want to thank here all the partnership for the big efforts done till now in the project, for the great cooperation showed also till now, and for the efforts made in the organization of these virtual exchanges. I know them are participating in this webinar, so really, I really want to thank all the partnership. What are we expecting with these virtual exchanges? These exchanges should be physical exchanges at the beginning, with the possibility for companies to move from one country to another. As you all know, COVID-19 restrictions did not allow to make such exchanges in such way. And so the agency asked all the clusters to rearrange the exchanges, to find a different approach, and this is why we went to think about virtual exchanges. So our approach, our idea was to give value to the role that the clusters have as hubs for other organizations interested to discover regional innovation ecosystems, to find out collaboration opportunities with the regional innovation actors and the networks that the cluster have in the regions. So the first thing you will get is the possibility to get training on the state of art of important energy technologies, their applications, and those who are the major trends for European energy transition. The second thing is that we want to give visiting organizations the possibility to discover through the project partners which host these virtual exchanges, discover the regional innovation networks and their ecosystems, which are working on specific energy topics that we think are very relevant. And finally, visiting organizations participating in webinars will get the support and matching with the local innovation partners and other organizations looking for opportunities for collaboration. These are the four main topics we have identified. The first one is hydrogen, that is starting today. We have other three ones. The first one is the energy communities topic, starting in after the middle of February. Smart grids starting early March, and finally we will close with smart building topic starting more or less in the mid of March. The idea is that each of these energy topics is organized in 6 webinar sessions, where each partner organizing the webinars is acting as hosting organizations. So each partner is presenting its regional innovation ecosystem in strict collaboration with the main actors that will present themselves, and it gives the possibility to the visiting organizations to directly meet and match also with the speakers and with the actors of the regional innovation ecosystem. Clever Cluster is hosting this first session of virtual exchanges on hydrogen technologies. A few words about our organization. We are located in the Piedmont region in the northwest of Italy. We have about 170 members. Most of them are small enterprises, but we also have medium enterprises, large, and a good number of research centers. Our areas of activity include, of course, energy, but also other technology focuses on other environmental issues different from energy. This means water, waste management, climate change, mobility. Our management model is in particular based on a strict cooperation with the local research institutions, and also thanks to technology transfer expert we have in our staff at Environment Park, which is the management organizations of the Clever Cluster, that it's an opportunity we offer to the organizations interested in innovation. Hydrogen and fuel cells, of course, is one of the topics we are working for the last 20 years, I would say. Smart Energy project and the virtual exchanges in this way are a great opportunity for us to start from the innovation demand and from the innovation needs and opportunities we identified from our members and from the members of the other clusters, to provide them the services we are going to develop and integrate thanks to the Smart Energy project, in particular networking activities and knowledge transfer activities, with the aim to come out from all of these activities with potential new R&D projects, collaboration agreements, and of course an increased visibility for all the organizations taking part in the exchanges. This is an overview of the hydrogen technologies webinar sessions. So our goal, our idea is to lead the participants, guide the participants in a step-by-step process to discover the actors of our chain of value on hydrogen technologies, which are the main key players in the region. And starting today with a first overview of the state of art of the technologies in development of the technologies in the region, but not only. Then let you discover which are the excellencies of our territory in terms of research facilities and infrastructures you can find to develop your innovation projects. Two webinars dedicated to the key players which are part of our ecosystem. So you will hear about pitches of the relevant organizations presenting their innovation development projects, their innovation strategies, which is their innovation agenda. And finally, two webinars, the first dedicated to some excellent projects which successfully contributed to innovate the technologies in the territory or develop innovative application for H2 technologies. And the last webinar with the goal, the aim to get information about funding and opportunities to industrialize solutions and access new markets. So this is the overview of the 6th webinar we will have. All the webinars are organized in two sub-sessions. The first one is made of presentations, and the second one, very relevant for you, is about include the possibility to meet the speakers. So a B2B session where you can meet the speakers, exchange contacts, and discuss about your ideas, about your opportunities. Let me also remind you this event we will have this afternoon. This is if you want to know about energy sources for alternative propulsion system. This is organized by our regional agency, CHAPE, is regional agency for investment and export. So we can say today is the Hydrogen Day here in Turin. There will be also two of the speakers we have involved in the virtual exchanges, Punch Torino and SNAM, which are relevant key players in the region. If you want to register, this is the link you have to access. Finally, I want to remind you that you have to book your meetings in the B2B session that will start at 11:30 till 1 o'clock. You have to click on the event link that you have received also together with the program of this day. Access the platform where you can create your account, log in, complete your profile, and book your meetings to share your opportunities with the speakers of today's webinar. Thank you very much. This was my introduction. And now I would leave the floor to my colleague, Sabina Fiorot, that will present us an overview about the actual state of art of the technologies and which is the potential of H2 technologies for different application. Please, Sabina, it's up to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Luca. Good morning, everyone. I will try to put my screen. Forse sì, aspetta, forse l'ho fatto. Si vedono? Si vedono?
Tu lo vedi?
Ah. Però io sto condividendo adesso. Dimmi se si vede. Okay. Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm Sabina Fiorotto from Environment Park, and I'm involved in all the hydrogen and energy storage activities in the park. So next week you will look on something and information based on our open lab based on hydrogen technologies. Welcome in this first section of presentation, in which I will give you just some overview of the hydrogen technology trend. The first consideration is linked to the decarbonization of and the Europe transition to a decarbonized energy system. The first interaction with this aspect started from the conference of the parties in Paris, in which some specific agreement were signed in order to keep global warming well below 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, and to pursue efforts to limit the temperature increase even further to 1.5 degrees Celsius. So the main objectives of this COP21 are to reach specific target in the next years. For this next year was 20% of CO2 reduction, 20% of renewable energy, and also 20% of energy efficiency. So the next target in the 2030 is the 40% of CO2 reduction, 27% of renewables, and 27% of energy efficiency. And at the end, in 2050, this target will be increased in order to reach to the near zero CO2 emission, in order to have the higher reduction of carbon dioxide. So hydrogen is the way is one of the way to reach this target and this very important targets. Hydrogen is a clean energy carrier, so in transport and energy applications, it generates electricity and heat with very high efficiency. There is the possibility for storage of renewable energy sources, and also can help the reduction of CO2 emissions. So hydrogen can help ensure the current rapid growth of renewable electricity continues, and also increase independence from unstable outside regions. Then in this graph, I would just to report you what are the main hydrogen sectors that can contribute to the higher CO2 emissions. How you can see, mainly basing on power generation, balancing and buffering, but also, yes, transportation, heating and power for building, but all the sectors are involved in these CO2 emissions, and could help the reduction to reach this target. So the first step of the reduction can be reached via energy efficiency, but the next step, in order to reach the target to the 2050, hydrogen can realize the ambitious transition of the European energy system, but a number of challenges need to be solved. So challenges to achieving deep decarbonization, management of variable renewable sources, and also meeting customer preference. So as I said, each sector can contribute to this very reduction of carbon dioxide. I have reported here just each contribute. So for power generation, with the integration of renewables into the power sector, and also via power generation from renewable sources. In the transportation, the replacement of combustion engines with fuel cell electric vehicles, in particular with buses, trucks, taxis, and also vans, but also as well larger passengers vehicles. And also the decarbonization of aviation fuel through synthetic fuels based on hydrogen, and also replacement of diesel-powered trains and oil-powered ships with hydrogen fuel cell-powered units. In the heating and power building sectors, the decarbonization of natural gas grid through blending and also the upgrade of natural gas to pure hydrogen grid could help to reach this very, very interesting target. Then also in the industrial heat, replacement of natural gas for process heat, and in the industry feedstock, the switch from blast furnace to direct reduced iron steel, and also replacement of natural gas as a feedstock in combination with carbon capture and also final use. Then, as I said, hydrogen is the key to achieve the energy transition in an efficient and economically attractive manner in Europe. It could enable the renewable energy system via large-scale renewables integration and also power generation. It can distribute energy across each sectors and also through different regions. And it can also act as a buffer to increase system resilience. Then for the final use, hydrogen can help the decarbonization of some end uses in transport, industrial energy, building heat and power, and also feedstock. Then, in order to achieve the 2050 targets, as I said, hydrogen is the best choice to decarbonize key sectors. So to decarbonize the gas grid, the high-grade heat for industry and in steel, fuel cell or also synfuels for EV transport and long distance, and also ultra-low carbon hydrogen as feedstock. So, as I said, each sector needed to contribute to this reduction. Linked to the hydrogen to decarbonize the gas grid, the decarbonization of the gas grid that connect Europe's industry and delivers more than 40% of heating in Europe households and 15% of Europe power generation requires hydrogen. So using hydrogen in the gas grid can offer three major advantages over other decarbonization solutions for building heating. So full direct electrification of heating not flexible will require a significant increase in power generation and grid capacity that is used only in the winter. It is compatible with existing building stock compared to use of heat pump. So it's useful to consider that 90% of all buildings emissions result from buildings older than 25 years. And then infrastructure, skills and regulations already available and ready to be leveraged. 40% of all European households have gas heating as of today, making fast and convenient implementation possible. So in transport, hydrogen is the most promising decarbonization option for trucks, buses, ships, trains, and also large cars, but also for commercial vehicles where the lower energy density, high initial cost, and slow recharging performance of batteries are major disadvantages. Fuel cell electrical vehicle powertrains for trucks are cost competitive with battery electrical vehicles from 100 kilometer range, as you can see in this graph. And hydrogen refueling is 15 times faster than fast charging. So after 10 minutes of refueling recharging time, the fuel cell electric vehicle truck is 90% charged and the battery electrical vehicle truck only 10%. Then the hydrogen recharging infrastructure requires between 10-15 less space and creates flexibles instead of peak load. And the fuel cell also require significant less raw materials compared to batteries and combustion engines. Then if we go in the industrial sector, industry can burn hydrogen to produce high-grade heat and use the fuel in several processes as feedstock, either directly or together with CO2 as a syn fuel, electrofuel. And also, hydrogen can work as a reductant, substituting for coal-based blast furnaces. Only flexible route for decarbonization of steel in order to replace blast furnace with direct reduction process using hydrogen. A scale decarbonization of high-grade heat industrial processes via decarbonization route compatible with current processes, and also conversion of hydrogen production to ultra-low carbon hydrogen with decarbonization of hydrogen production. Were currently used in ammonia production, refining, and petrochemical industries. Then, in this graph, I would report so the status of the main product that are available and that are ready to the deployment. As you can see, in the 2020, these are the achievements along the fuel cell hydrogen undertaking. There are just some sectors ready. Part of them are in transport, but also for micro combined heat and power generation. Then I also put in evidence the target to the 2030. This is the ambition of the clean hydrogen for Europe, in which part of the main transport sector could be ready to deployment. These are the main objectives. Then I will give you just some indication linked to some sectors that are, as I said, ready to the market. So the fuel cell buses. Here you have a picture of the worldwide situation. These are the bus in operation. There are more than 300 the bus in operation, and planning in the next year there will be 2,000 buses. So over the past 15 years, fuel cell electrical vehicle buses have been operating across more than 8 million kilometers in Europe, providing that the technology works, is flexible, operational, and safe. So the Evolution European in Europe operation are starting from 2019 with 50 buses, and this year we will reach 350 buses in operation in Europe. I have just reported an indication and a scheme of some example of hydrogen bus in Europe from Evo Bus, Van Hool, and also Bright Bus. With the main part of a fuel cell system. Mainly there are the hydrogen tank on the top, also the batteries and the fuel cell power system. So the fuel cell buses now have a range of 300 to 450 kilometers, and so offer almost the same flexibility as diesel buses in day-to-day operation. While some older municipal buses still consume well over 20 kilograms of hydrogen per 100 kilometer, newer fuel cell buses now use only 9 to 10 kilograms per 100 kilometer. giving fuel cell electrical buses an energy efficiency advantage of around 40% as compared with diesel buses. So the refueling time is also below 10 minutes. And in order to develop the market, demonstration projects with large fleets in long-term use are planned. Were planned in last year and are planned in next years. Then another interesting sector is the fuel cell train. An example is the Coradia E-Lint, that is the world's first passenger train powered by an hydrogen fuel cell, which produces electrical power for traction. It produces clean energy conversion, it's a flexible energy storage in batteries, smart management of traction, power and available energy. So specifically designed for operation on non-electrified lines, it enables clean, sustainable train operation while ensuring high levels of performance. I have reported here just the installation of the main part. As you can see on the top there is a hydrogen fuel tank, the fuel cell composition, and also any other auxiliary converter and also battery auxiliary. Here just two images of the fuel cells and also the hydrogen storage at 350 bar. Here you have the main characteristics of the components in the train. So the maximum speed is 140 km per hour. Fuel consumption more than 0.25 kilogram per kilometer. And all the technical characteristics and installation in the train. The traction motors is made of from Alstom power management system. We have also an hybridization with Lion-ion batteries with the energy storage capacity of 110 kilowatt per hour. Also the fuel cell system from Hydrogenics, with a fuel cell power of 400 kilowatt with two modules of 200 kilowatt. Then the situation for trains, I have reported here an interesting study conducted by the Shift to Rail project and reported in the report of Shift to Rail. They report the European market potential for fuel cell hydrogen trains, starting from a low scenario to an high scenario, so a low introduction of train in comparison to the diesel train, and an high introduction. So as we can see, in the low scenario, the estimation indicates a market potential which grows by approximately 20% in the 2030. This comprises a share of 1100% of the overall market potential. If we look the high scenario, the estimation indicates a market potential which grows by approximately 36% in the 2030 year, and this comprises a share of 41% of the overall market potential. Then in the last graph, we can also look the market potential by geography. So we can check the difference between the front runner market, mainly based to France, Germany, and other regions, and the newcomer that are mainly will involve Spain, Italy, and so on, other countries. So as you can check, The market potential for fuel cell hydrogen trains in front-runner market is highest and followed by newcomer markets. In front-runner markets, the substitution of diesel trains is mainly driven by the multiple units segment, where firstly, high diesel purchasing volumes are projected with high substitution potential exists. Another check and another interesting sector is are the fuel cell electrical vehicles, where now number of fuel cell cars manufacturer over the coming years is projected to range from several hundred up to thousands of units. And I have here just for your use, I have put a scheme of how the fuel cell electrical vehicle is made, with the high pressure hydrogen tanks at 700 bars and the fuel cell stack. And also I have reported just some characteristics from the Mirai product. It's interesting to say that the fuel cell stacks in the latest fuel cell models have an output of 100 kilowatt or more. As compared with battery electric cars, they have a greater range of around 400 to 500 kilometers today, with a lower vehicle weight and much shorter refueling time of 3 to 5 minutes. They usually carry 4 to 7 kilograms of hydrogen on board, stored, as I said, in a pressure tanks at 700 bars. Then, looking also the truck market, Europe shows a specific focus on fuel cell hydrogen heavy-duty trucks, trial and the demonstration project. As you can see, I have reported a distribution of the main project worldwide, and as you can see, in Europe, there are overall 12 relevant projects that are identified. Many projects are conducted cross-nationally in Europe, and with very, very interesting results. I have also reported to you just some European projects that often include multinational stakeholders with a strong participation of wholesale and retail companies. So also the operator and the logistic users, and you also can find the OEM system integration and also the fuel cell provider. Then looking also for the hydrogen truck market, Roland Berger and the Fuel Cell Hydrogen Undertaking have reported an interesting study based on the market of the trucks in Europe. And as you can see, the market potential analysis focuses on selected market segment, mainly based on international logistics, national logistics, and also manufacturing industry, retail and regional logistics, with a sales share of 53%. As you can see, in overall, the fuel cell electrical vehicle have a high potential within the whole truck market. Steep increase in sales share from 0.2% in 2023 and will come to 17% in 2030. And we can look in the market segment technology split. We can check that in 2030, the fuel cell electrical vehicle technology represent around 32% in 2030 year. Then also for the refueling stations, there is a big introduction of refueling station via a European project that will reach in the next years a high number of refueling stations. Here I have reported the main production that you could have in a refueling station. So production on site via electrolysis, PEM or alkaline fuel cell, producing green hydrogen via renewable sources. But also there could be also a production via steam reformer that is called gray hydrogen. But also, if you have off-site production, the hydrogen could come directly with gas compressed hydrogen via truck, or also liquid hydrogen via truck. Then the situation of hydrogen refueling station in Europe, this is the status in June 2020. As you can see, today mainly stations for passenger are for passenger vehicles, and dedicated infrastructure for trucks still very limited, but will be planned in the next years. So in blue, you can look at the number of stations planned until 2025 for passenger cars. The white is the number, represented the number of stations operating in 2020 for passenger cars, and also the situation for fuel cell trucks and buses, and also the number of stations operating in 2020 for fuel cell trucks and buses. Then in this last slide, I could give you just an overview of the opportunities at European level. What were in the past the opportunities that are reached via the fuel cell and hydrogen joint undertaking, via a lot of program and implementation of a project. This was the status of fuel cell hydrogen 2 undertaking program implementation with 262 projects, with a very big support in money, passing through the energy sector to the transport, and also cross-cutting activities mainly based on standards, safety, education, and also consumer awareness. Where will we go in the next year? So within the framework of the preparation of the foreseen clean hydrogen for Europe, there will be, yes, a new program of new activities. So the clean hydrogen for Europe is mainly based on the main objective is to reduce and eliminate emissions, integrate higher renewables, and also generate economic benefit for Europe. The main goal, as I said, are enable Europe hydrogen technologies, and also to link and also to overcome the missing link in achieving a sustainable and decarbonized energy system, with general objectives to accelerate the commercial maturity of hydrogen technology, enable at scale deployment capacity, and also ensure safe and frictionless deployment. Just to give you a final overview, the objectives of the clean hydrogen for Europe are fully aligned with the goals of the European Green Deal, mainly based on sustainable transport, achieving climate neutrality, cleaner and reliable and affordable energy, and also zero pollution in Europe. Here you have the main pillar that in which clean hydrogen for Europe will be based: hydrogen production, hydrogen distribution, and also hydrogen end uses, but also just some cross-cutting activity, and also hydrogen valleys objective. Then At the end, I will give you all this information. So in overall, there are 52 billion of investment will be needed to realize this vision in the decade 2020 to 2030. And it's estimated that around 30% of the total will be needed for the partnership on clean hydrogen to deliver its target. It's expected that contribution will also be shared equally by the partners, industry and research, and also the European Commission. That's all from my side, and I will give you the word to Luca.
Thank you, Sabina, for this presentation. I think you gave a really comprehensive first overview of which is now actually the state of art of hydrogen technologies, which is the potential of hydrogen technologies for energy transition and decarbonization, which are keywords for at European level now, and which are also the results already achieved and in terms of progress made of these technologies, and also which are the open questions we still have to answer for the next year. So thank you very much. Talking about perspectives and strategies, H2IT is the Italian Association for Promotion of Hydrogen at national level. So I leave the floor to Cristina Maggi, which will make a presentation about this perspective at national level. Thank you.
Thank you, Luca, and good morning, everyone.
Cristina, I think you have to open the microphone.
Yes, it's open.
Okay. Right.
It's okay. Can you hear me well? Thanks. Okay, so good morning, everyone. Thank you, especially to the organizers to invite us at this interesting event, and welcome to all the participants. So today I would like to show you how is structured the value chain, the hydrogen value chain in Italy, and which are the main initiatives that have been implemented in Italy related to hydrogen, and which are the priorities and the strategic action to support the growth of a strong value chain, hydrogen value chain in Italy. So I share my screen, so I think you can see my screen now. Okay. So today I represent, as Luca said, H2IT, the Italian Hydrogen and Fuel Cell Association. I'm Cristina Maggi, and I'm the director of H2IT. As you can see from this slide, H2IT gathers many different actors in the hydrogen sector. So we gather a lot of industry and small and medium enterprises that work in the hydrogen sector, and we also gather research institutes, university, association, and other entities that work in the hydrogen sector. We are also part of the Hydrogen Europe network. It's important for us to show you a little bit of the how we structure the hydrogen value chain in Italy. So we represent the industry and the research centers that work in the hydrogen sector in Italy, from the production to the final use of hydrogen. So we have inside of H2IT the enterprises that produce hydrogen, transport, distribute hydrogen. So we have also the part of the storage, companies that produce technologies and components, such as, for example, electrolyzers and fuel cells. And finally, we have companies that use hydrogen in the mobility sector, in the industrial sector, in the residential sector. Just to give you a bit an overview of this of how we structure the value chain. So inside H2IT, we have also a scientific committee. We value very much the collaboration and the close cooperation between the industrial world and the research and the academia world. This because it's fundamental for the development of the hydrogen market. And so we value very much the synergies that can be activated between these two worlds. So our objective is, of course, promote the progress and the technology related to hydrogen, to the production, storage, and utilization of hydrogen in Italy. First of all, we are the main point of reference for the institution when it comes to developing measures and policy for hydrogen in the stationary application and mobility applications. So we have the objective to support the government in insert hydrogen in the legislative framework. Second, we would like to, with our activities, we are supporting the industry and in their part to developing their activities in the hydrogen sector. And finally, with the events, workshop, and communication, we aim at raising awareness among public administration and local entities and territories. We value very much this action because we think these local entities and territories are fundamental players and key actors to develop projects, hydrogen project in Italy. So as the speaker before me said, they already underline that hydrogen is a key factor, it's a key energy vector for the decarbonization of the energy system. I would like to add that hydrogen is also a key asset for the economic growth, especially in this period after the pandemic. So support the development and the growth of the hydrogen value chain. It will give for sure a big economic impact. So I would like to go through a little bit to the main hydrogen initiative that have been implemented at international and European level so that I can make a comparison with the Italian initiatives. So starting from 2016, the Hydrogen Council has been formed. This is a global initiative and an industrial initiative. So it comes from the industrial world that gave a long-term vision for hydrogen to support the energy transition. In 2019, Australia launched the Innovation Challenge 8 on hydrogen. Many states participated to this kind of mission, and also Italy is participating, and it's concentrating its objectives in the technology development mainly. Always in 2019, the Linz Hydrogen Initiative was launched by the Austrian presidency, and it's mainly a political initiative. In fact, the European ministers of energy in Europe participated and signed this initiative. In 2018, has been let's say, after FCHJU platform, so the funding for research and innovation for hydrogen, also another partnership after FCHJU has been created, the Clean Hydrogen for Europe. And this program is fundamental from 2020 to support the action in research and innovation. In 2019, hydrogen has been identified as a strategic value chain. And so member states, European member states are creating the important project of common European interest. In 2020, the European Commission launched the hydrogen strategy, so published on the 8th of July. And in this context, gave some guidelines and some objectives related to the development of hydrogen and the development of hydrogen value chain in Europe. And in this context, launches also the Clean Hydrogen Alliance, which gathers industry all over Europe to build a strong value chain in Europe. So with this, in this context, I would like to go through some initiatives that has been developed in Italy in parallel with the ones developed in Europe. A first milestone has been led in 2016 with the AFID. So Italy inserted hydrogen in its plan for the development of infrastructure for alternative fuels. So H2IT supported the government in the development of the hydrogen mobility plan, which has inside different scenarios for the development of the infrastructure and the hydrogen refueling stations in Italy. This was really important to for starting the development of hydrogen in Italy. In 2018, Italy joined the Mission Innovation, participated and signed the Linz Hydrogen Initiative. It's involved in the important project of common European interest on hydrogen. And something very important to underline is the technical rule for fire prevention for the design, construction and operation for the hydrogen refueling station, published in 2018, at the end of 2018. This is very important because this rule allow Italy to build hydrogen refueling station as the other member states in Europe. So allow, for example, the 700 bars and other important characteristic. In 2018, hydrogen has been included in the National Energy and Climate Plan in every dimension. So, so the ministers gave a lot of importance to the role of hydrogen in this context, and in particular in the transport sector. 1% of renewable energy sources target it's expected from hydrogen, green hydrogen. Also in this year has been launched the hydrogen table, always from the institutions. Finally, in 2020, the Ministry of Economic Development published the preliminary guidelines for an Italian hydrogen strategy with 10 billion of investment. Of course, this was something related to the launch of hydrogen strategy in Europe, and also hydrogen has been included in the resilience and recovery plan of Italy with the 2 billion of investment. I would like to give some, let's say, to present a little bit the European hydrogen strategy to understand also which are the priority in Italy. So the Commission, the 8th of July, published the European hydrogen strategy and gave to the member states some guidelines to develop their own hydrogen strategy, and puts some objectives along 3 time horizon. The first time horizon is today from today to 2024. The second time horizon is 2025 to 2030, and the third is 2030, and so on. This object, all the hydrogen strategy developed by the member states must concur together to this objective that the European Commission put in the hydrogen strategy. So, for example, from today till 2024, 6 gigawatt of electrolyzers for the production of green hydrogen are expected in Europe, with also electrolyzers with big sizes for the production of 1 million tons of green hydrogen. From 2025 and 2030, this capacity installed and it's a big, let's say, amount. The objective is 40 gigawatt of electrolyzers installed for the production of 10 million tons of green hydrogen. This is the objective of the European strategy, and the strategies, the hydrogen strategy of the member states must concur to reach these objectives. Finally, from 2030, the objective of the European Commission is that hydrogen will represent the 25% of the final uses. So this is the final objective. So after this publication, Italy decided to implement its own hydrogen strategy. That's why the Ministry of Economic Development published some guidelines that give some priority of action for the Italian hydrogen sector. And this is very important because with this launch, they ask for, they launch is also a consultation, so ask for feedback from the operators. These strategies and these preliminary guidelines as important objectives, and I would say also ambitious objectives. So, for example, hydrogen will, in 2030, will represent 2% of the energy demand. It will avoid 8 million tons of emission. 5 gigawatt of electrolyzers will be installed in 2030, and with 10 billion of investment for hydrogen, to develop and for the growth of the hydrogen value chain. This will impact with the 27 with a raise of the GDP of 27 billions, and will create 200,000 new jobs and jobs opportunity. Of course, the Italian government started from let's say, the sectors that already use hydrogen and can be decarbonized, such as chemicals and refineries, but also added some other sectors which have for Italy a big potential. For example, such as EV duty transport, with objective of 2% of fuel cell trucks in 2030. trains. So we have a lot of railways still running on diesel. That's why the train sector is one of the priorities for the Italian government, and also industry. So try to use hydrogen to decarbonize the industrial sector. Finally, the decarbonization of the gas grid by injecting hydrogen in the gas grid. These are the priority for Italian government and the objectives that put in the preliminary guidelines. This will impact on, of course, in the economic framework of Italy. In particular, the 10 billion investment over the 10 years are divided as is shown in the slide. So 5.7 billion for the production of hydrogen, 2.3 for the distribution and infrastructure, and finally 1 billion for research and development. So these are mainly the impacts and the big impacts on the Italian framework. H2IT decided in this context, since there were a lot of attention from the government related to the hydrogen opportunity, decided to analyze the whole value chain from the production to the final uses, and analyzes which are the gaps, which are the barriers, to understand how we can overcome this gap, and also try to propose some strategic action and some policies to the institution, so that they can understand which are the requests from the sector, and which are the requests from the hydrogen value chain that is growing in Italy. This initiative has been started then in at the end of 2019, and has been developed along the whole 2020. And at the end, we produced a report with the priorities for the development of the supply chain in Italy, and that was published at the beginning of 2021, and it's available on our website. So the objective of this initiative was the identification of the legislative, regulatory, or economic barriers along the entire value chain, to make some proposal and identify the priorities for the Italian sector. We have coordinated this work, but we divided this big work in 7 working tables, coordinated by research centers and university. And we segmented the hydrogen value chain in 7 sections. So production, transport, distribution and treatment, storage, mobility, energy uses, industrial, residential uses and feedstock, and finally supply chain and cross-cutting teams. So the approach has been bottom-up, for the collection of experiences and feedback from the operators in the sector, but also top-down, so guiding these analyses to have a final results. In this work participated a lot of stakeholders and important stakeholders in the hydrogen sector, so 48 industry, 12 research centers and university, and several clusters and associations. I would like to show you the most important conclusion of this study. Of course, if you want to go deep in the study. You can find it on our website. It's a 60 pages report, and for each segment of the value chain, priorities and policies are proposed. So you can go deep in, for sure, to understand better which are the priorities for the Italian sector. I try to resume these priorities in these 7 points. So first of all, we need to define a long-term strategic role for hydrogen in the Italian framework. And this is going to be done along with the hydrogen strategy. So we need also a clearer legislative and technical regulatory framework, at least for the industry to invest and clearly in the sector. Of course, there is a need of the certification of renewable and low emission hydrogen. This is also a very important European theme. So it's for sure a European topic in discussion. For the importance of research and innovation along the entire value chain, and the close cooperation between the industrial world and the academia. 5, the development of the hydrogen refueling infrastructure. This is very important. Right now, Italy has just one public refueling station and 2 private refueling stations. 6, of course, a strategic collaboration between the Hydrogen Valleys project and a close collaboration with the territories. And finally, raise awareness on hydrogen technology and the social acceptance of the technology. This is very important because hydrogen will be part of our life in the next years. In these slides, there are some priorities related to the implementation of projects. So we have seen that hydrogen valleys and the ecosystem that are built around the hydrogen valleys are the perfect start for building an hydrogen value chain. We have to enhance the development of the electrolysis technology and support the production of the electrolysis, and also define the regulatory context for insert this technology in the energy system. Support the development of the demonstration project in the context of hydrogen transport and networks combined with storage solution. Enable the production of hydrogen with carbon capture and storage or from renewable from biomethane. Promote projects for the use of hydrogen to decarbonize the industrial processes. So we talk about refinery, chemical industry, steel industry. And finally, try to support the development of the application of the hydrogen technology for mobility. In different type of mobility, so car, bus, rail, maritime application, EV duty transport, and also material handling. In this context, H2IT in 2019 developed the update, the hydrogen mobility plan, and extended the scenarios to all type of mobility. Also, this kind of report can be found on the website and is published and public for consultation. So I think I have concluded my presentation. So I hope it's clear, and I'm available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Cristina, for your presentations about what's happening at national level, which are the national strategies, which are the priorities in the agenda, at Italian level in the transport sector in particular, but not only in the transport sector, and which is the agenda for the long term and short term. So thank you. Now we can talk a little bit more about perspectives, but this time more at the regional level. So what's happening in Piedmont region? And I leave the floor to David Damosso from Environment Park for his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Luca, and good morning. I am Davide Damosso. I'm the Director of Operations here at the Environment Park, the Technology Park for Environmental Innovation based in Torino. I will share with you my presentation, and hope this is the right way. Okay. 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 That's okay. So in my presentation, we are going to focus a little bit what's going on at the local level in our region, and so I'm trying to explain to all of you which is the way in which a regional ecosystem is adapting and trying to take this challenge for hydrogen deployment. In all its values, from the environmental point of view to the competitiveness point of view, and I will explain to you which is our role as a technology park in this process. And so I will start with some few informations about us, about our technology park. So Environment Park is a clean tech oriented techno park. It's based in Torino, so it is active since 20 years in this domain of clean innovation, and it is doing this, try to go towards its mission through the support to companies and research institutions that are active into clean tech and eco-innovation patterns. And these services are split into two main areas. One is the infrastructure of the park itself as a service, in order to host at the best, in the best way, innovative activities performed by companies and research institutions, and through some support services to innovations that are delivered by our company that is owning and managing the park. In the picture, you see like a green spot among in the city, and it is our infrastructure, our campus, that has been conceived 20 years ago as a sustainable infrastructure in order to give to the building itself like a demonstration on how sustainability can integrate all the economic activities. Some figures, as I said, we have been working since 20 years in this sector. We normally run and operate more than 100 contracts in a year for innovation services. And we operate even some so-called open lab facilities where some technology trends are treated and are a basis for joint initiatives and projects between companies and research institutions. By the way, hydrogen is one of these trends and is the target of one of these open lab infrastructure. I will explain later. The company managing the park is a profit organization whose shareholders are listed here. And just to give you an overview, the majority of our ownership is in the hands of institutions. So the regional government, this municipality of Torino, the Metropolitan Area Authority. And then we have representatives by the production and economic environment, so the Chamber of Commerce, some utilities that are active into energy and environmental sector, and the Employers Federation. So in the structure itself, you can see the integration among the institutional feature represented by our public bodies as shareholders and the economic and industrial framework. And this gives to us the double feature to be an operational arm available to institutions, but with the business model of an enterprise and with a very and the relevant industrial shares in our shareholders list. Just a few words about our business model that is actually split into two areas, into two pillars, as I said before. On the left side of the slide, you see what we call the infrastructures. So this is what we offer to tenants. We have more than 30,000 square meters of surfaces, and that are rented to our tenants. Integrated to this offer, there is a portfolio of services related to the location into the park. And so there is nowadays a community counting more than 70 entities and around 500 to 600 people working daily in the center. We have a conference center, and then we have even some technology facilities that are characterizing the park itself as an infrastructure, as a demo site for specific innovative initiatives. Like we run a mini hydropower plant, as well as a photovoltaic generator providing clean power. And then we own our own networks that are available for tests, for specific prototype investigation. On the right side of the slide, we have some innovation services that are characterizing us as an actor of the innovation ecosystem in our region. Of course, our consultancy, project design and management. We have, as I said, open lab facilities for experimental activities. And last but not least, we are one of the managing entity of a regional innovation cluster, particularly dedicated to clean tech, grouping more than 150 companies that are cooperating on a yearly basis on industrial research programs. Below, you can find some keywords in which we are particularly active, and hydrogen is included into the advanced energy box. And this is a specific sector that we started to work on years ago, as I will explain in a minute. So this is more or less which is Environment Park. And summarizing, we are a public-private institute that is running on eco-innovation mission. We offer facilities, we offer infrastructure and support in terms of services to all the regional ecosystem. And in this framework, we crossed the hydrogen and fuel cells trend years ago. I put here a number that is 2005 as the year in which we started working on hydrogen, and we establishing our first experimental facility into the park, thanks to a joint venture between some companies and research institutions. This laboratory was called the Hydrogen System Laboratory, so EasyLab, that worked as an R&D laboratory, as a test facility, as a training infrastructure, and more than all, as a competence center to help the projects, initiatives on the territory, working with companies in a moment in which hydrogen has been launched for the first time to the public, and the first hype on this technology occurred. And in the curve that is represented into this slide, there is a typical shape of what's going on when a new technology is launched in terms of visibility versus maturity. And this is exactly what we lived starting working on hydrogen in those age. So 15, more than 15 years ago. There was this technology trigger that was starting a very, very high popularity of the word hydrogen. There was a peak in this popularity. Then, at least for that concerns Italy, there was like a very sudden fall of visibility and popularity. Probably is not the same situation in all the European countries. I'm sure that is, but for Italy was this was exactly what happened. And so we lived that valley of the curve, trying to keep our competence, our know-how, our activities with a group of companies with which we worked at that time in the first experimentations on hydrogen. And this was very successful because we had some achievements at that point. So we had the opportunity to finalize a number of demo initiatives, bringing us together with this first cluster of companies to deliver some prototypes and of vehicles. For example, you can see in the upper part of the slide, so tractor, some light vehicles, the first bus that has been tested in Italy, some cars, and then even some components of the balance of plant of a fuel cell system that involved as industrial actors, small and medium enterprises that with us and research centers started to approach this technology. So producing first series of valves, of blowers, electronics, tanks for hydrogen, even some specific product like an auxiliary power unit that in this case, this electro power system product evolved into a startup that became a company and now is working in the field of energy management at a global level. So we can say that in this very early stage, this early period of action, of activity of this regional ecosystem that we contributed to create as a park, we established like a basis of competencies and experiences that unfortunately lived a period of, we can say, blackout in terms of popularity. But in these months, when hydrogen is becoming again a priority, and thanks to what is being represented very well by Cristina before me, in this new national strategy for hydrogen, this system represents a very, very rich environment in which we believe for a competitiveness of our territory. Going on along the line, the timeline, what we lived as a regional ecosystem is that probably the only funds that were available to go on with research industrial activities and demonstration and so on were to participate to the European initiatives on hydrogen. And there is in this picture you can see which is the Piedmontese share of successes into the European FCH-JU from 2014 to 2018. That was relevant in terms of funds and projects that landed into our region, grouping together research institutions and companies that participated. This means that along this blackout period, the ecosystem kept working and working thanks to the European resources. And this contributed to keep the knowledge, the know-how, and the sensibility towards this sector alive. Talking about reaching nowadays, we can say that the regional government had a very relevant role in helping to create a real hydrogen cluster, trying to cover the value chain of hydrogen. And starting from the creation of our laboratory, as I said, so-called Easy Lab, thanks to the very huge effort by the local research institution, I will explain later what I mean, and creating a dedicated industrial cluster that is still working, and some regional financial incentives to research institutions. These are all actions that contributed to the creation of a system that cover research and development, technology transfer, and industry on hydrogen. I think that it is one of the most advanced systems in Italy in terms, we talk about regions, because this ended up from a planned action years ago. And now we have to enrich this section, to empower this, and to decline it along the new priorities talking about hydrogen. We can say that we have two main areas. So on the right side, hydrogen in Piemonte declined into research and technology transfer, and grouping the major players like the universities in Torino, Università di Torino and Politecnico di Torino, the Italian Institute of Technology branch that is based in Torino, and our technology park. And on the left side, there is the declination of the industrial value chain along three main lines. One is mobility and transportation, one is energy applications, and the other one is the upstream area of hydrogen, I mean production and storage and distribution. Taking a look to each of these part of the value chain, we start from research, and we start from the Polytechnic of Torino, that is an engineering and architecture university, grouping around 30,000 students. And the research activities are very, very strong and established, very well established and rooted into the university. And they cover a number of different specialties, like production from electrolysis, from renewable energies, but even new pathways for the green hydrogen production. And I mean chemical looping, photocatalysis, biochemical routes, and go through different technology readiness level, even to the applications, so hydrogen mobility, including storage and refilling infrastructures, fuel cells application, both low temperature and high temperature, to the probably less developed but very, very interesting in perspective areas like the generation of synthetic chemicals, combining carbon dioxide capture technologies with renewable hydrogen in order to produce new chemicals, new hydrocarbons. Of course, the engineering university is particularly devoted to system integration and to combining, to integrate all these specific techniques into more complex systems. Of course, the Polytechnic is part of the Hydrogen Research Europe and part of H2IT and whatsoever. So there is a very relevant experience in European projects. Same experience in European projects can characterize even the University of Torino, that is more related in terms of specialties in material science and technology, hydrogen production, particularly from biomass, specific technologies for hydrogen storage, particularly on metal hydrides, and on basic chemistry and technology for polymeric ion exchange membranes, chemical modeling, CO2 reduction, and chemical and biochemical catalysis. And so we shift a little bit on science more than on engineering to complete the offer of research available. The Italian Institute of Technology operates in Torino within our technology park, a specific center on sustainable future technologies. And they operate in this framework a specific center to performed and operated together with the Polytechnic. That is called CO2 Circle Lab, that characterizes the activities on what I mentioned before, integrating the CO2 cycle with the hydrogen. The main topics are synthetic biology, carbon capture, hydrogen underground storage, and electrochemical reduction and thermocatalytic reduction of solid of carbon dioxide. Shifting to the technology transfer, this is the role we play as a technology park. And as I said before, we offer technology transfer support services. We offer even specific facilities that we manage together with our scientific partners. Through the cluster, we offer even a huge networking activities. And along this last 15 years, we served more than 100 companies in this sector. You can see here some pictures that are of our test facility that is in the park. More in details, we set up this safe area where activities on hydrogen are possible, and there are several test benches available for different domains of activities in hydrogen and fuel cells, from single cells to stacks to electrolyzers to several applications. And the area is very, very flexible and can be adapted to host different test benches according with the needs of companies and universities. So this is like an open space that is a platform where people can join and develop specific projects. Going to the value chains, and we shift to the industrial side of the story. Of course, the region Piemonte is particularly known for its tradition on transportation and mobility, and so probably we have even in the hydrogen and fuel cell area more the same particularly feature. So transportation and mobility list probably the most important industrial players active right now. And we have head of the value chain, and I mentioned some names on the right part of the slide. So FPT, Powertrain Technologies, Iveco, Punch Torino, in the automotive heavy vehicles, you can say. We have a very important Alstom plant for trains that have started very recently the project to develop the first Italian hydrogen train to be deployed on non-electrified areas, and one of the main plants is in our region. Then we have a very strong tradition in real hydrogen activities in the aerospace sector. So Avio Aero and Leonardo Space are two big industries that have plants in Torino. And then we have a very relevant presence even in the very basic technology of PEM fuel cells through the presence of a Solvay plant in our region that is producing for the global market special polymers for PEM fuel cells. I mentioned even some even Stellantis and CNH because there is a strong integration of hydrogen in the wider sector of electrification of mobility, and there is a significant participation in the IPCEI, industrial project of common European interest on batteries landing in Torino. And this is, in our opinion, a very relevant part of the story. Talking about significant projects, as I mentioned, the Italian hydrogen train and the Iveco hydrogen fuel cell truck that is developed by this company and will be probably on the road in 2023. Furthermore, we have a number of small and medium enterprises that is not possible to list here, but they are very, very active and experienced in the H2, and so they create a very interesting ecosystem for the activation of the national value chain on hydrogen. Shifting, okay, and I'm talking about small and medium enterprises. This is more or less what we are studying as a park to support the startup of this value chain. So we split, for example, a fuel cell power system into boxes, into particular components and sectors. And for each of these, there are companies, small and medium enterprises already active in this. And so this is the basis, and this is the ecosystem that is ready to go in the investments that are ongoing for the Italian strategy on hydrogen mobility. Going to the upstream part of the value chain, so the production, we register a very huge interest by utility companies, particularly energy companies, that are very, very active in integrating hydrogen in their business model, putting available their assets, energy assets, and trying to add hydrogen in their portfolio. Iren, particularly, that is the fourth utility company in Italy that is based in Torino, is very active in this. We have even some smaller companies that have specific technologies into the value chain, like EasyTech, that is working in steam reforming and carbon capture management units, Cubogas, that is in the value chain of refueling station. And as well, there is a growing interest even from other SMEs that are proposing their own specialties and know-how for this part of the value chain itself. Same for energy, in which again we have utilities, and then but we can register even energy, but also hydrogen as a feedstock, we can say. We have a relevant presence in the micro CHP generation using fuel cells and hydrogen, that is Giacomini. And then we have a SECO, that is a company that has a relevant asset in terms of hydrogen as a byproduct. So more or less, as you can see, in our region, there is a very structured approach. There is a wide coverage of the different parts of the value chains. What's going on now? So there is a strategy in place at the regional level. There are some strategic action needed. And of course, at a national level, even at the regional level, there is a need to set the hydrogen role in a long-term strategy. And it is what we are doing with the regional government. We have to maximize this integration of R&D and competence center with the industrial chains. And as I said, we are exactly working on it. And there is the need to establish a relationship with other territories, but this is probably the subject of the presentation after mine. And in terms of specific initiatives, there is a permanent thematic work group that is monitoring the implementation of the strategy. And this involves the regional administration and some structures of technical support, and the Environment Park is part of it, in order to monitor the implementation of the strategy and even opportunities and even to set up specific projects. The elaboration of the initiatives, and this is probably the final message that I would like to give, for our region is exactly following two main schemes. So one side, we perceived and we recognize hydrogen deployment as a key factor in order to comply with the Paris targets for to exploit its environmental and energy value. But this is not the only point. So we recognize clearly the value of hydrogen technologies as a competitiveness factor. So this is a highly industrialized region, and so there is the need to integrate the environmental value of this technology trend with the industrial competitiveness value. So this hydrogen can be and must be an opportunity for our companies in order to be more competitive in the future. And these are the two main strategic goals of the regional approach into hydrogen. And we are part of the story, and the technology part is the operational arm helping the process. I think that's all for my side, and thank you for your attention. I'm available for questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Davide, and also for retracing, I would say, the path made by Environment Park on hydrogen technologies since 2005, creating the basis for what is now the regional ecosystem for hydrogen technologies. And also for introducing some of the actors that we will see in the next webinars that will present themselves and their activities. Now, more staying on the institutional level, we already have understood that hydrogen is has an important role in the innovation policies of our region, and our region is cooperating also at European level with other regions on this issue. So, what's happening? And I leave the floor to Massimo Lapolla from Piedmont region for his presentation. Thank you, Massimo.
Yeah, thank you, Luca. Thank you, everybody. Good morning. I'm not the lucky one because the last intervention in general is the most difficult one because a lot has been said, and because of the audience, and we are all probably a little bit tired. But I will do my best to make it quick and to be the less boring I can. I promise. Yeah. My name is Massimo Lapolla, and I work for Piedmont Region Delegation to the EU in Brussels. And my presentation today will be, in brief, I will tell you who we are and what we do. Then I will give you a general hydrogen landscape seen from our point of view, from this European point of view. And then I would like to focus I decided to focus on two keywords, and I called them today and tomorrow, not because it is a static dichotomy, of course, but because it gives the idea of a stream. So I would make a focus about what I call today we got some USALP activities. USALP is a macro-regional strategy, we will see later. And then for tomorrow, I mean, there's a new interesting instrument by European Commission that will be activated very soon. So it could be the future of the idea of reinforcing the interregional cooperation in a European scale. So briefly, who we are. As I said, we are a delegation in Brussels, a regional delegation, as there are many. We are a medium-sized delegation, I would say. We are 4 people and a head of unit. I say medium-sized because if we think about Italian delegation, of course, there are countries that have much more bigger delegation, but it's not the case for Italian, unluckily. We are 4 people, as I said. The main issues, the main objectives we face are linked to competitiveness, to territory, to welfare. In specific case, my role is to be the policy officer for competitiveness, in which, of course, we mean research and innovation, but we also mean cohesion policies and communication. What we do? We do a lot of things, and especially we do 4 main actions, 4 main things. First of all, we represent, of course, because we are an official delegation. So we have institutional representative. We are in contact with the elected. We are in touch with our representatives in the European Parliament, and we represent the interest of our region here in Brussels. Then we try to inform our public, let's say our stakeholders, our regional actors for the services we provide and for the news and for the activities that the European institution do. And then, of course, we try to communicate it back to Piedmont. That's why we have a Twitter profile, for example, and we try to to stimulate a dialogue between Piedmont and Europe and vice versa. Then we participate. Of course, we participate to European initiatives. We participate to European networks and events when we used to do that. We hope we're gonna do it again very soon. And of course, the general landscape of this presentation regarding this activity, how we participate to reinforce the European and international cooperation about hydrogen in this case. Last but not least, we try to influence. I mean, of course, we do a policy orienting activity. We call it lobby. It's an institutional lobby, as we all do here. And we try to help the legislator, the European legislator, to make better laws. And this is quite simple, I think. So in the slide, you could see which are the main actors involved in this activity we do. So the European Committee of the Region, of course, the European Parliament, the Commission, and the Council. On the right side, you will see the instruments and the networks and the association in which we belong. And it's very interesting to see that we participate to specific regional networks. For example, Vanguard Initiative is a very famous one, and we'll tell you something about later. But we also have some alliances between regions. The most important for us, of course, is the so-called Euroregion Alpes-Méditerranée that involves Piedmont, Liguria, and Valle d'Aosta for Italy, and Région PACA, Région Sud PACA, et Région Auvergne-Rhône-Alpes pour la France, for French, I'm sorry. So this is a little bit the general screen about our environment in which we play. And talking about hydrogen, and because of course, we do lobby not only about this issue, but we do in this period, as Davide D'Amosso said, it is a very magic word, hydrogen. So we are very busy on it. Talking about the general landscape in which, I mean, this is our framework in which we move. So from the territory to European scale, of course, we are going to write to approve a regional strategy on hydrogen. That, of course, doesn't mean that we didn't do anything by now, as you've seen with the presentation that was before me. Of course, this regional strategy must be coherent with the new S3. So, and will be in line with new instruments that the European Commission, the European institution launched after the COVID crisis. And of course, when I say this, I talk about the REACT-EU, the recovery plan, and all the actions that are going to be implemented in the future months. About the national strategy, Christina explained it very well, so I would skip it. And the same thing about the European strategy. I think you all have the elements of general introduction, so I will not go further. But I would spend some seconds about telling you something about the macro-regional strategy. It was called EU's-Alpes macro-regional strategy. I mentioned it before. So we go to the first point of today's presentation, that is called Today. These are a little bit our ongoing initiatives that I divided into bilateral cooperations, multilateral cooperation, alpine cooperation. This is a kind of specific multilateral cooperation, of course, and then we have a pan-European cooperation. When I mean bilateral cooperation, I can tell you that Piedmont region, of course, has historical relations with other regions. I would mention the most historical for us is and also on this subject, it is the cooperation with our region in France. The most recent agreement we have done together, was signed on 2019. It was called Alpi Verdi, Green Alps. And it mentioned hydrogen activities, of course, in the text. Then we have a multilateral cooperation. I could just mention the European Group of Territorial Cooperation. Maybe someone of you already heard about it. It's specifically dedicated to transports and mobility. So as you can imagine, hydrogen is a hot theme, is a hot spot today, and so we work on that, on the specific side, also on that geography. And then I will skip Alpine cooperation because I will make a focus later on, and I go on the last point, the European cooperation. I think that the people that talked before me explained it very well. The joint undertaking, the FCH, and all the European partnership that are going to be, of course, refinanced and then re-implemented in the next programming period. So in the next slide, I will tell you a little bit more about the macro-regional strategy, the EUSALP strategy. I don't know if you already heard about it. Maybe our some friends from France and Germany and Austria already heard about it. In brief, a macro-regional strategy is an integrated framework that was endorsed by European Council. They decided to create 4 European macro-regional strategies, and the goal is to address common challenges faced by a defined geographical area and their actors that benefits from strengthened cooperation, contributing to the achievement, of course, of social, economic, and territorial cohesion. We got some major challenging that are economic globalization, demographic trends, and climate changes. So you can understand that hydrogen in this framework is very fitting. EUSALP is an opportunity to boost cross-border cooperation in the Alpine states and regions. EUSALP is composed by 7 countries. There are 5 European countries and 2 non-EU countries. There are Austria, France, Germany, Italy, and Slovenia, and then Switzerland and Liechtenstein that are not EU and countries. There are 48 regions in there, and the activity is divided practically in 9 action groups. Piedmont region belongs to participate to all the 9 action groups, and especially in action group 2, that is the action group that is for economic development, and I'm the co-leader of the group together with our region in France. The most interesting aspect about EUSALP macro-regional strategy here today is that we are launching for the next programming period from this year some cross-cutting initiatives, and one of this is about low carbon alpine area, and of course again hydrogen will be very crucial for this action, and that's why we try to to create a group of regions, and you will see on the next slide, that could launch a pilot project to the European Commission. So we are in a deep talk with the European Commission this period, because we launched on September 2020 an idea, let's say an hypothesis of project that is called Green Hydrogen for the Alps. It's about heavy mobility. It means buses, trucks, and coaches and trains. And we heard this coherent with the European and with the national, with our mutual national strategies. And for this moment, the regions that are on board on this initiative, that it doesn't exist, but as I told you, is going to be, I hope it's going to be signed very soon, are Piedmont region, Haura, Baden-Württemberg in Germany, and South Tyrol. The objectives, as I said, it is about the hydrogen charging infrastructure and the deployment of EV duty vehicles and cross-border connectivity for zero-emission alpine mobility. And we are trying to understand if we can pay some preliminary studies on the ERDF funds. This is important because it's another important issue of the macro-regional strategy. It is to embed the regional operative programs with European money, of course, with some idea of an action of multilateral and cross-border activity about some interesting issues, and hydrogen is, of course, one of them. So, talking about tomorrow, as I said, is not a long future, but we all hope it is a near future. We got something that is we are already used to, and I think everybody knows Horizon Europe. So in the new partnership, we will have the possibility to continue to strengthen our cooperation, as Davide said, in the JU, in the active GU. Piedmont stakeholders and actors are very important in the Italian perspective, and we hope we continue to give our contribution on the next programming period. The focus I would like to give you today about this second part of my presentation, it's about the interregional innovation investment. This is we call it a new kid on the block. It's a brand new action that is going to be launched by European Commission. This is born as a lobby activity consequence of some European networks, as I mentioned before, Vanguard, for example, but ERIN network that maybe you already heard, were very active and proactive on trying to convince European Commission to launch a measure like that, and the efforts were positive. So we appreciated the European Commission launched this new initiative. The goal of the new initiative is to reinforce the role of the ES3 and to accelerate innovation in EU strategic value chains. As David explained, of course, every region has their value chain, so it's a matter of putting them together and to reinforce them in an European point of view, and then to support the commercialization and scaling up of interregional innovation projects. As we say, as we all know, we got a problem on the highest TRL. So this goes exactly to this objective. And the third goal is to develop, connect, and make complementary use of testing and demonstration facilities. And as we see on the previous presentation, we have a lot to share with other European partners. Yes, just very briefly to describe, I'm not, of course, as I said, I'm not from European Commission, so this is not an official presentation of the initiative, but I would like just to give you some quick information about how it is interesting for us region, and then of course it would be I would suggest to contact directly the DG region that will manage this initiative, and of course we are and I am at your disposal to go deepen a little bit for what we understood so far. So as I said, it is about TRL very, very high, so from 6 to 8. Of course, it's for all for all Europe regions. It is foreseen that they're gonna invest €500 million. It's not that much, but it's not less. Then it's gonna be directly and indirectly managed by European Commission. This is very crucial. And it's gonna stay under the ERDF regulation. It is important because it makes clear there's a measure for ecosystems, and it is dedicated to local and public authorities. The duration of the project is 3 years. So they're gonna launch some calls. The first one is foreseen for next summer. It is the main beneficiaries is going to be SMEs. So it is. I hope and I think it could be interesting for you, for the audience today. it must be at least, the consortium must be at least for regions, 5 regions and countries. And it's foreseen that the budget for coal is going to be 40 million euros. It means that they're gonna finance 4/5 grants, but about 8-10 millions per project. The idea is to make it set up it as a cascade fund. So the public authorities, for example, regional authorities, could sign the grants, and then of course they could share the grants with the partners, with the public and private partners. The eligible cost for this action are expenditures linked to productive investments, piloting in companies, and then the type of investments are interregional investment in companies to accelerate, as I say, the market uptake and commercialization. So it is dedicated to innovative solutions and services for scaling up regional and local S3s, of course, in S3 strategic and priority areas. So this is a little bit what I would want to tell you. So we got something that is on our pipeline today. A lot is going to be launched in the near future. So we are always ready and optimistic about creating new relation and to reinforce the cooperation, European cooperation. So I think that in the future we're gonna work hard about this issue about hydrogen, and of course we will do it with all the energy that it takes, and with the very open to improve it, to enlarge our cooperation with other regions and with other European actors. Thank you very much for your attention, and good luck for everything for everybody.
Thank you, Massimo. Good to hear about these promising ongoing cooperation initiatives at regional level. And I think that this will also create possibilities for clusters to operate and cooperate with the regions in the implementation of what's happening at the level of cooperation. So now it's time for questions and answers. I see a question from Fauzi Laway, who says, thanks for the presentation. What about the security level of hydrogen technologies? I suppose this question is for Sabina Fiorot, if you want to say something.
Yes, hydrogen is a gas. So what we need is to know better what are its properties, and in order to make it safer to handle and to use. What is necessary to know is there are a lot of properties that make it safer. For example, it's a non-toxic gas, but it's much lighter than air, and also it dissipates rapidly when it's released. But as some part of the gases, it has a wide range of flammability. So what you need to know in order to manage it is to perform safety analysis, and also to have engineering controls in order to ensure its safe use, putting leak sensor, and also just some flame detectors. But after to know these specific characteristics, it's safe to manage. It's also interesting to say that the fuel cell hydrogen undertaking launched also the European Hydrogen Safety Panel, an initiative that supported the main project in order to assuring that hydrogen safety is adequately managed, and so also to guarantee all the safety aspects. And as I said, and as you looked in all our presentation, there are a lot of projects, and also the status of the technology is ready to market. So we can consider that hydrogen is a safety gas, and also all the parts and components are safe.
Thank you, Sabina. We have another question. Before, I just wanted to say that we also have the possibility to for a short break. And this is on the screen. You can see the link to the B2B platform, which is available starting from 11:30. And we'll leave this slide on the screen active so that you can use the link, and we are available to support you also during the break if you need to get support to register and book your meetings. The second question is about the cost. So how much costs the hydrogen from renewables today, and what is the projection of the price in 2030? Sabina, I forward you this question.
Yes, if we consider green hydrogen, so as you asked from renewables sources, today the cost is near to 10 kilogram euro per kilogram. It depends, yes, on the cost of the energy where we produce hydrogen, how much is bigger the plant for the production. So there are just some points that can influence the total cost of the production. But the main objective are to reduce this price to be more competitive with the traditional and also to be competitive with the cost of hydrogen produced by steam reforming or other production. So the objective are to stay below 6 euro per kilogram in order to be, as I said, more competitive. So probably also the contributes from Europe, but also from the countries in order to give incentive to reduce this cost can contribute in the reduction of it.
Okay, thank you. So it's now time for a break, and all the speakers are available from starting from 11:30 for the B2Bs, where you can meet the speakers. So we are available to support you by the chat. The webinar is open, and see you later. See you soon. Goodbye.
interattiva.